I travelled to Egypt for my 50th birthday and with a small tour, but people couldn't believe that I would do that because it's so unsafe. And I'm like, well, you know, I don't know what figures you're looking at or what news story you're talking about because it's not now.
Welcome to a new episode of Most Memorable Journeys. Today I have two guests and they look like fun. And I was very much looking forward to doing this interview. We connected on some podcast platform, if I remember well, and they have a fun podcast called Beach Travel and Wine. And I was a little jealous when I read it because I thought maybe that's what I should have called my podcast, but never mind. We're on the most memorable journey. Welcome, Leanne and Lyle, all the way from Australia.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Nice to be here.
So happy to have you. And
you're not the only one that wanted to call their podcast Beach Travel Wine.
I'm not. Anyway, let's leave. It's good the way it is. You know, sharing is caring.
Exactly.
So I want to talk to you about many, many things because I've been looking at your episodes. It's a lot about Spain. And surely that was a fantastic trip. But you've done so much more. And you also have done so much in your life. You are not so young anymore. You are no teenager. So you have lived and you you do care about your health, and it's important to keep fit and to be able to move. Could that be because you want to continue traveling as long as you possibly can?
You take that one for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's for sure.
We both have always tried to keep healthy, but you know, it's definitely to keep traveling. For as long as we can.
And also to be able to play with the kids, or also the grandkids, as long as we can.
Yeah.
And Leanne just wants to be cool for the grandkids.
Yeah, the coolest nana.
Ah, that's so sweet. Now let's go back a little bit. Do you both remember when you were on a plane for the first time?
For me, it was as a child, because Australia is such a big country. You know, we probably flew domestically, you know, but so it would have just been flying from a little country town where I lived to Sydney, which is only a bit over an hour's a flight on a little Fokker Friendship plane. That would have been my first plane. What about you, Lyle?
Oh, probably the same Fokker Friendship. I can't say it. Fokker
Friendship
plane. Yeah, I used to do a lot of competitive swimming, even as a young boy. And my first trip was to Tasmania.
From Melbourne.
From Melbourne to Tasmania on a swimming carnival. And so that was probably my first. But our first plane trip together was to Hawaii.
Mm. You see, and that's not even mentioned anywhere, Hawaii, because everything that I read did not mention Hawaii. But I'm intrigued by Tasmania because, as you know, I have done some round trips in Australia, but Tasmania is definitely on my list. I think that's quite a fascinating little place, part of Australia, but a little country on its own, isn't it? We're
going to do a probably 3-part podcast.
We only talked about it today.
Yeah, episode. We did a 3-week lap of Tasmania. So, we really loved it.
So we're looking at, 3 episodes?
Yeah, we think so. So there's a lot to see in Tasmania. It reminds us a bit of New Zealand. It's very mountainous and very lush and beautiful, beautiful landscapes. About 2/3 of it's national park. It's a beautiful spot for sure.
So we are looking forward to that then, to 3 episodes about Tasmania, because that is not really, it's not a place where people, it's not that known, when you come from Europe, you don't include Tasmania in your trip to Australia. You go to Sydney, Melbourne and
Yeah.
Well, 2 of those episodes will probably be about Tasmanian wine.
Well, I want to talk about, we're going to get to that wine in a minute. So Hawaii was your first trip together because you're both in your second marriage. So you met a little later in life and you decided to go to Hawaii. How did that come about?
I think Lyle wanted to impress me.
Absolutely. What can I say? That's true.
Did he impress you?
Hey, a trip to Hawaii, no righteous girl's going to say no to that, are they? Of course, it was We'd both been before, and so it was just like a nice getaway. We were both working pretty hard at that time, so we loved that. Yeah, it was great.
The highlight probably was the helicopter trip.
Yeah, we did the Jurassic Park. That was my first helicopter ride too, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's probably more memorable than a plane trip. You know, I'm a bit scared. Bit scared of heights, but the minute that the helicopter took off, I just felt at ease. You know, it was just, that was an experience for sure. Yeah,
I think helicopter rides are great fun because they get you so much closer to where you are. When I was a tour guide, we used to do helicopter rides in Manhattan or in the Grand Canyon, and it's absolutely awesome.
Helicopter is my favorite form of transport, I've decided.
Amazing, despite the fear of heights.
Yes, exactly.
It's a fear worth overcoming for that, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, but you weren't really scared.
No, I felt safe. It's more of a safety issue than a height issue, I think, like.
The guy, the chap that was actually the pilot, he was an ex-Vietnam veteran helicopter pilot, and he was fabulous.
He'd been flying his whole life.
Yeah. So he was an older gentleman. Yeah. And he had so much information about the island, and he was fabulous.
Amazing. So that was before you decided to sell your business. That was before you decided to change your life, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah. That was 2015. And we didn't sell our business until 2019, not from a lack of trying, but, it was just, going through selling businesses isn't as easy as selling a house, I guess. And, so we did a few other trips. Well, 2016 was our first trip together to Spain, where we met up with my son and his then fiancée, now wife. And we did 3 weeks in Spain and a week in Portugal. So that was pretty memorable, and a couple of trips to New Zealand, or one trip to New Zealand actually in that time, skiing with all the family, which was amazing, and as you said, the Maldives, so we did those sort of smaller trips, and of course around Australia, to Melbourne and Perth and Adelaide, Sydney. We would have gone there and up, and before we sold the business, and then we decided we were going to travel the world, and then, we know what happened in 2020.
Yes, I do. I felt that's why I started my podcast, because I felt like I was missing a limb, because at that time I was working as a conference interpreter for the European Police Association, and I had left Cyprus 23 times in 2019, and then suddenly I was stuck. So I thought, if I can't travel, I can at least talk about it.
That's
how this started.
That's a great idea.
Tell me, did you travel to Europe as young Australians, like many Australians do?
No, neither of us did. I got married first time young and had children, and to travel to Europe from Australia was quite expensive, back in the day as well. But no, I didn't, and you didn't either. You were busy working as well.
Yeah.
So not
we
that
really.
You didn't go walkabout.
No walkabouts for us. We both worked.
No, we both worked pretty hard.
Yeah. So what you're doing now is, and that's, I totally understand, that is something that you really, really enjoy, because it shows in all the stuff that I've seen about you. It's the kind of thing that you've worked for, and you deserve this, right?
Absolutely.
We're not the sort of grey nomad travellers, though. We're not going to pull a caravan or camp on the side of the road. That's not for us, is it, hun?
No, not at all.
But we also don't want to see 17 countries in 3 weeks either. That's that doesn't suit our style either.
I got the country counters. That's
I know.
No, I did. Some of these people, they even count a stopover, or even if they get out of the airport for the day and they count that country. That's not visiting a country for me.
Well, and who cares the number? I don't know if you've heard of a book called 4,000 Weeks, and basically saying you just need to give up on the whole bucket list thing. You're not going to get everywhere, and that's okay. And for what reason? No one's going to remember when you're not around anyway. So why don't, just take the pressure off yourself and go places and enjoy them while you're there, and don't if you don't get to see all the places, so be it. The places you have seen have been amazing.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think that exactly shows that when you travel this way, you travel for yourself. You go there to enjoy it yourself. You don't travel for other people, because those people who count, they don't really count for themselves. It's because they want to impress somebody.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. Yeah. It's and to go into some of the countries, it's dangerous as well. Like I don't want to be unsafe just to tick a box. That we would never do that.
I agree. Sometimes you only realize that you've been to a dangerous country or after you've been. And some countries also have a completely wrong reputation, I believe. My daughter traveled in Iran for 6 weeks 3 years ago, and she had an absolutely fantastic time. And she said that she's met so many beautiful people who invited them to eat. And, it's so much about politics and media and stuff that's being said that is not true.
Well, and things that were said years ago that people haven't forgotten. I traveled to Egypt for my 50th birthday and with a small tour, but people couldn't believe that I would do that because it's so unsafe. And I'm like, well, I don't know what figures you're looking at or what news story you're talking about, because it's not now, and and my daughter, when she was 17, traveled to Romania for 6 weeks as well. And people said the same thing. I'm like, really? I don't, I haven't read anything about, Romania being unsafe either, So, yeah, I think, some people have thoughts, stereotype type thoughts, don't they?
Yeah, totally. And I think it's also about your own behavior. I think if you are looking for trouble, or if you behave like an idiot in some places, then you may get in trouble, whether no matter where you are.
Well, yes, and like for instance, in Egypt, we were told, shoulders and things covered and be respectful. And then you get a busload of, tourists arrive from the other, the tourist side of Egypt, all in their, little tight, little tops and shorts, and we're showing no respect at all for the culture, and they just give tourists a bad name, don't they?
I think it all boils down to respect in travel and in life altogether. I think if we all respected each other for what we are, things would be a lot different. And I say that in every podcast episode, because one thing that I have learned by living abroad or traveling abroad is that we are all the same. We want to be respected.
Well, we're more the same than we are different, that's for sure.
Yeah. So let's talk about wine and Spain. And I think that really was the trip of a lifetime, right?
It's hopefully not our last trip of a lifetime, though.
Well, for now.
For now, yeah. Well, and I guess it seems like a trip of a lifetime because we podcasted while we're on the road, and we're still sort of catching up, and so it's very visible to the places we went, and that in itself has made it even a better trip, because you're more aware, you're sharing information, and it just brings a whole new level to traveling. Previous to this trip, though, in 2019, we did 8 weeks in Spain. We didn't obviously podcast at that time. We were doing a few catch up episodes, but this was an amazing tour. And this time we wanted to go places we hadn't been, and to some wine areas, as you said, for sure. We don't mind a glass of vino.
Yes, no, that's true. I'm not sure who likes it most, Leanne or I, but I've come from the hospitality industry. So I've always had an interest in having fun, mainly, and the wine was second. But the wine enhances the fun. So, But
the Spanish wine is very good wine, and we learnt lots about the wine, and we went to La Rioja, which is the best-known wine area in Spain, and little wine villages, and we little bodegas, didn't we? It was,
And the controls that they have,
quality controls
that they have are amazing, absolutely amazing. So
you're not going to get a bogus bottle of wine if it's got the
enunciation of origin, their origin.
Right.
So, and that basically is based on the grape, the yield, how long it's stored for. There's 5 categories. And then within that, they also have other categories that you can actually turn the bottle of the wine and you'll see on the label Crianza, which is one of the top, and then you'll have whether it's from Rueda or whether it's from La Rioja, and it's all very, very specified.
And before, why Spain? How did Spain come about? Was there a reason? Was it the wine or was it her? It was her.
It was her. Well, a couple of things. When I was a child, and I'm thinking maybe 5 or 6, because that's when your memory sort of, I can remember back to. I was told, it was always spoke about, that my grandmother, whose maiden name was Manuel, was from Spanish origin. Now, the family records or family tree only goes back to sort of British records, but and I've always wanted to learn Spanish, and that's an ongoing challenge that I face, learning Spanish. And
so, how long have you been learning Spanish, honey? She's punching me under the table.
I've been learning Spanish on and off for years, but when you put it all together, it's not that long. So anyway,
how is it going? Can you order your wine in Spanish?
Sí.
Yeah.
Por supuesto.
I've actually been learning Spanish as well, probably for the last couple of years.
Yeah. So,
and that's only to understand when Leanne's swearing at me in Spanish.
When you go to a country, Australians aren't big on learning second languages unless you come from a migrant background, which, of course, a lot of people do. But we sort of have this, and I'm speaking generally, we have a very sort of ignorant attitude is the whole world speaks English. You don't need to learn Spanish or another language. Why would you bother? That attitude doesn't sit well with me because, we've been places where people don't speak English or don't speak English very well. Older people in Spain didn't learn English at schools, and I don't know, I had the word to explain it, but the satisfaction you get when you can have a very basic conversation with someone in their language and the appreciation they give you, when you tell them you're from Australia and you speak a bit of Spanish, that, you can see their eyes light up. It just enhanced our trip so much. Yeah, it really did, didn't it?
Yeah, for me, and especially now this is our 3rd time back and Leanne's become more and more proficient. And especially for instance, this year we've been to Madrid 3 or 4 times. And this time I loved Madrid this time more than any other time. And I think I'd put it down to the fact that we were so much more confident to go into crowded bars and communicate with the locals and communicate with the people behind the bar. And it just enhanced the whole holiday. And seriously, it was amazing. And yeah, we loved Madrid this time. We stayed right in the centre of where all the tapas bars and that were, and we had a ball.
The other thing about Spain too, I think for us is, and it's not, I guess it's just Spain for us, it'd be the same for other people in other countries, is the more time you spend there, the more comfortable you are and the more you do explore. You get off the beaten track a bit, you go to places that aren't quite, as popular as others. You feel comfortable hopping on a train or a bus for a day trip without, having to go to the guidebooks or Google and all that sort of stuff. So I think just feeling comfortable to explore is a nice feeling.
And I just want to come back to that English thing and not learning languages. I think that is our fault. I'm Swiss. We accommodate Americans. We accommodate all the English speaking people. You don't need to learn because we learn it and we speak. We learn it for you. But you are so right about the appreciation bit and how much people's face lights up. When I was a tour guide, I always used to learn just thank you and hello in that language, whether it's in Thai or in Arabic or God knows what. It's not about being able to speak the language, because that's a completely different story. That takes a lot more, but it's about showing that you made an effort. I think that's what it's all about, making an effort and trying.
You're making effort, and also caring enough that, you think enough of their country and their language to make the effort, right?
Exactly. Respect, again. It all goes back to respect. Yes.
There we go. There's that word.
Actually, it was interesting. There was one particular taxi driver that Leanne was talking to in Spanish, and he actually sort of, because obviously Europeans don't know that much about Australia, and why should they? But he actually asked Leanne whether all Australians spoke Spanish. Was it our actual national language?
Yeah, he was surprised that I was speaking Spanish. So
good for you. Well done.
Yeah,
so how did you travel around Spain? Did you fly, or did you take trains and buses, or how did you move around?
Well, number one, we will never hire a car overseas. I hate driving in Australia, let alone in another country on the other side of the road, would just terrify me. So we do public transport, which in Spain has been buses and trains. If there's a train available, we'll take that. But otherwise, we go by bus. And we sort of have a bit of a plan, don't we? We don't like to travel more than 3 or 4 hours a day, because you don't want to spend a day traveling. So, we sort of find places that we're within that distance, and they have a good sort of transport connection. And, that's how we sort of pick where we're going to go. And if something's about 6 hours, then we'll break it up. And we'd like to spend about a week in a place. And then we can do day trips once again by public transport.
We like to arrive around lunchtime.
Yeah, we do like to arrive around lunchtime.
For obvious reasons.
Yes, I understand. I got that by now.
Yes.
Do you plan your whole trip in advance? Do you have, if you say you're going for 3 weeks to a place, do you plan everything in advance, or do you take it as it comes?
Well, I think because of COVID, we had to book our accommodation, ahead. I like to have our transport and our accommodation, pretty well locked down before we go. However, we don't have any plans once we get there. So, we just walk out the door and say right or left, which way we're going to go today. Maybe find like a local guide or something, when we're there. Yeah, so I guess we are a bit organised. I actually have a holiday book where I print it all out and put it, put it in order, and so I know what time the train's leaving. It's all
Okay, but you are still spontaneous when it comes to like a restaurant or a bar or you don't have all that, because I did an interview with somebody recently, and we were talking about that in the old days. I was a tour guide when we had no cell phones and no internet. And, now sometimes things are too planned. You already know where in which restaurant you're going to eat in a year. And I think that somehow it kills the fun.
Yeah. I guess there are some places like Alhambra, in Granada, that you have to book months ahead. And I think it's the same maybe for Sagrada Familia. And even some of the, the really well-known restaurants, that if you're going to be there, then you should get your tickets ahead. It'll be interesting to see how things sort of maybe calm down after COVID. It was pretty full on in Spain, in some places, not so much with local tourists as well, wasn't it, honey? So it'll be interesting to see what happens from now, and if you can be a little bit more flexible with that.
Although we do, because Leanne's got some friends in Australia that, actually a Spanish teacher, and they're from Spain. So they've, Leanne will talk to Patricia and Carlos about different areas, which are the best areas to go and blah, blah, blah. And they'll then recommend, you've got to go there. They've got the best pork in Toledo or, in Burgos and every time we
follow their
advice.
Sure. Yeah.
And each time it's been fabulous.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of good food in the north of Spain as well, like in Santander and in Bilbao. I saw that you had an episode about that too. How did you like that area?
We were blown away by northern Spain, weren't we?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. Really loved it.
Asturias, where the Picos de Europa are, with the glacial lakes and the Covadonga and stuff, that was amazing. It's so not like the stereotypical Spain. And then, Santander up the top. And we've been to San Sebastian before too, which is, what the locals call the food capital of the planet, don't they?
Yeah.
So, but amazing food. We haven't had bad food anywhere in Spain, let's be honest, have we?
No. But Oviedo was fabulous as well up north. And I think that the thing that I noticed, and it might have been just me, but I also noticed that the people were taller.
Yeah, they change.
And blonder.
Yeah, as you get north.
Yes.
As you get north.
In the north, yes, I agree. I mean, you can see that in Italy as well. People who are closer to the Swiss border or the French border. Yeah, I used to have a friend when I was a tour guide. She was French and she used to make fun of all the Southern European. She always used to say everything that is south of Lyon are the same. But that's maybe too generalized.
That's fairly south. There's a fair bit south of Lyon.
Yeah, so that's Spain for you. Let's go back a little bit I want to talk to you about Australia as well, because people who are listening to this podcast episode are interested in the world and all the most memorable journeys. You live in Queensland, don't you? Are you from Queensland? No, you're not from Queensland.
No, we live on the Sunshine Coast now, which is about an hour north of Brisbane, which is the capital.
Which is in Queensland.
In Queensland, yeah. But I'm from the next state down, which is New South Wales, a little regional country town, and Lyle's from the capital, Victoria, Melbourne.
Right. So, because I have traveled a lot in Australia, I did all these tours starting in Darwin and been to Kakadu National Park and all these places. If somebody from Europe wants to travel to Australia and they only have 2 weeks, where should they go?
Well, oh, wow. then you would probably, fly into Sydney and do the area around Sydney, the Blue Mountains and south of the beaches south of Sydney and maybe the Hunter Valley. That's a beautiful sort of wine area. There's plenty to do around Sydney, isn't there?
You've got the Sydney Harbour, which is
spectacular.
Absolutely spectacular.
The
You've got the northern beaches. You've got so there's your 2 weeks gone.
Yeah. Sydney. Yeah.
So how long should one come to Australia then? 6 months?
Oh.
Yeah. Well, it's such Spain fits into Australia 15 times. So, it's, as it's massive. And it's a bit hard for people to comprehend that. And, most Australians haven't seen all of Australia, including us. So, I think a lot of, in fact, I was listening to one of your podcasts with James Hammond, and he spent some time in Australia, and he was saying that because the minimum wage in Australia is quite so good, it's a great place for, people to come and work and save money and travel from here. So pre-COVID, you saw, we used to have a lot of backpackers working, around the place, and they'd spend quite a long time here. But as a probably a more mature tourist traveling on your own, you wouldn't want to do much under a month. Like the problem is, and
the fact that you've got to travel so far.
And jet lag, it takes us a week to get over it, So, I'd say like my holidays, if you have to, and your money, and just do a couple of weeks, and you can't see it all. That's just true. That's just the way. We
talk about Queensland. Queensland's a very popular tourist destination, and there's we look at Brisbane, for instance, and the Brisbane River and all through there. It's absolutely beautiful.
And we just had a weekend at the Gold Coast.
Yeah, we went to the Gold Coast. We had a ball down there. Then we've done our scuba course up at Port Douglas, which is in North Queensland.
Yeah, I think, Elizabeth, you've been up there, haven't you?
I have been. Yeah. I've been to the Great Barrier Reef. We used to stay in cairns. And I've also been a few times to the Atherton Tableland, to the rainforest, which is beautiful.
Yeah. Sure, yeah.
Australia is a beautiful. It's a continent. You see, it's not just a country; it's a continent.
Correct.
The distances and everything. For me, I would love to go back to Australia and spend time in Australia, but it's just so far. I will eventually do it. But I took the kids to Sydney and to Melbourne because we have friends south of Melbourne in Jervis Bay.
I know Jervis Bay.
Yeah, it's beautiful. They said it's the whitest beach in the world. Now, I'm sure there are other places saying that too, but it was definitely very, very white. Australia has everything. And what the other thing that really impressed me was Kangaroo Island off the coast of Adelaide, which is another little microcosm on its own on this little island. You have everything.
Yeah, lots of seals there.
Yes. We have our wildlife is particularly, amazing, really, in Tasmania, the wombats that just wander around, like they're beautiful little. Well, they're not little, are they? They're quite like they're big, solid things. I love those, and just the wallabies. And I've just had a friend in Western Australia send a photo with a quokka. Like they're the little ones that smile all the time, and koalas.
Well, they're tiny kangaroos, aren't they? The quokkas, are they? Or
they're related to the kangaroos, but they're not kangaroos. No,
wallabies.
Yeah. So our wildlife is, and that's what the other thing I had to tell Lyle was stop it. Every time someone talked about Australia and they don't want to come because of the dangerous animals, and he plays it up. And I'm like, you got to stop it, like he tells them how big the snakes are and, the crocodiles.
I focus on crocodiles.
Yeah.
It sounds a bit like Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm the opposite. I am so scared of crocodiles. I mean, we don't have them down where we are, but up north, we did a tour of Darwin.
Did you do any boat tours on the Adelaide River when you were up in?
No, I didn't. No, but I did Kakadu National Park out of Darwin for 3 days, which definitely is crocodile country. I met that buffalo that he put to sleep. I don't know if you saw them. Yeah, exactly. That's the one I saw. It's in a zoo somewhere between Darwin and the park.
Ah. Okay.
Yeah, well, we did a flight over Kakadu, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
It was beautiful. It was absolutely amazing.
And then we did a Billabong cruise with Dennis with 2 N's. He said his name was.
Yeah,
he was an Indigenous guide, and he was a funny guy. I'd ask him a question, and he'd say, "That's a very interesting question," and that was all I got.
The funny part, my biggest, hardest part in Australia was that. All these driver guides, all these guys who drive you around, it's not like you have a tour guide and a driver. You have one, and they love their country, and they talk and talk and talk and talk. And there are all these animals that don't exist anywhere else in the world. And I always had to translate everything into German and French. And I used to think, please stop talking because I can't take this anymore. But of course, they mean well because they love their country so much.
Yeah, that's true. But we did do a crocodile boat tour where, they hold the meat out and the 6-meter crocodiles basically jump up out of the water. And Lyle was saying, well, how does the crocodile know not to jump in the boat? He was just.
Well, if they can jump up 6 meters into the air to get the meat, the boat's about 1.5 meters. So. Maybe they didn't get the memo.
There were so many crocodiles.
They're not supposed to jump in the boat.
In this river, you were going plonk, 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 plonk.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, absolutely. You could not drive along the river without going over the crocodiles. And then when the tour finally finished, and I was so happy, we went to get off the boat, and there was a lizard the size of a small horse waiting for us.
One of those what do they call
I don't know. I was.
But the guide, the boat driver and the guide had a big gun on his
the 357 Magnum or whatever they call
it. Just in
case. A dirty Harry gun.
Just in case you never know. Better safe than sorry. Tell me, because time is passing very quickly, Leanne, what's next for you? What's coming?
What's coming is
Perth.
Yes, Monday we're off to Perth and Margaret River wine area. Lyle has family over there we're going to see, but that's only like a 10-day trip. Look, where we live, we're very lucky. You know, we've sort of set up our life that when we're at home, we're on holidays, and when we get sick of being on holidays, we can travel. So, you know, this is the time of year that you really want to be at the Sunshine Coast. You know, it's summer, the beaches are beautiful, you know, so we're just going to enjoy the next couple of months of summer here. And then, look, long story, we ended up with a credit for a tour company, and we had to use that up by a certain date. So we've booked a trip to Mexico.
Oh, wow. Is that going to be podcast episodes?
Yes, it will definitely. And
whether I like it or not.
Yeah, you'd love it. No, we're actually thinking this time we might try and do day by day or 2 days, you know, like, because we've never done an organised tour like this before. You know, we might try and do it raw and real, and, you know, the good and the bad and all that stuff, and try and put an episode together that way. We'll see how we go. Like, if not, we'll do it our old-fashioned way when we finish the trip, you know.
Yeah, but I think it's beautiful when it's spontaneous. And I think one of the things that I also like to do is I don't want to send people questions in advance, you know, and then people study those questions and write down the answers. I want to chat like we are having now. And, you know, you never really know where it leads you to. And I think this is exactly what you're doing, and it's beautiful.
And then later in the year, we've booked a couple of weeks to New Zealand again, this time where there's 8 adults and 8 children. So I have 8 grandchildren, and we're all got an apartment, and we're all going to stay together. And, you know, hopefully most of us can have a bit of a ski. And it's New Zealand, especially Queenstown, where we're going. You know, once again, wine area, wine to die for, food amazing. You know, like it's scenic. We've done a helicopter flight there where we've actually landed on a glacier. You know, like, yeah. So that's something.
Milford Sound. And we flew down to Milford Sound, and
yeah. So that's something that we're really looking forward to, because it's like a family memory. You know, and I just really want to have the especially the grandkids, you know, enjoy those trips, you know. So
with the cool nana.
Cool nana.
The cool Spanish-speaking nana.
Oh, yeah, they can snow ski and scuba dive.
Yeah. I'm a beginner in both, but hey, they don't need to know that. Yeah. And who knows what might pop up along the way.
Yeah. I did New Zealand in a week. We used to have a 3 weeks tour to Australia. And when we had enough people, when we had more than 10 people going onwards to New Zealand, the tour guide was going with them. So I had one of those tours, and I didn't. I mean, that's nothing. You can't do New Zealand in a week. That's another thing that you need to do more. So,
and of course, on our bucket list is when I said we don't have a bucket list, we want to. There's a couple more places in Spain we like to do, but we want to do the south of France. Like that's, you know, explore that. That's certainly way up there on the places to do, isn't it, hon?
Yes.
Fantastic.
I really want to do the south of France.
Leanne and Lyle, what would you tell somebody who is listening to this podcast today, and, you know, knowing that you are, I'm going to post the pictures and they're going to see it, knowing that you are not 25-year-old influencers, what do you tell them? Should they do it or should they not do it?
Travel?
Yes.
You mean? Well, I guess you'd probably think I'm going to say definitely, which I certainly do think people should travel. However, sometimes overseas travel isn't for everybody. And, you know, we have friends like that. And, you know, I think even traveling in your own country is a really good experience, you know. And I think, certainly getting out and experiencing different places is an amazing thing for life, isn't it? Like that's the way I see it. What do you think, honey?
I think that maybe what you said earlier is that people have to be careful not to have preconceived ideas before they go to countries. I think what you said earlier as well is that, well, what Leanne said, that we've got more in common with everybody than that we haven't in common. And I think my advice, if they were going to go to Europe, would be definitely Spain. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One, I think the people are spectacular. They're so friendly. It's so safe. At no point have we ever thought to get anxious at all. And it is, the value for money is unbelievable.
Yeah, that's true. And the things that you learn when you travel, it just the history, and things that you think you should know and you don't. You come across buildings and places that you think, how have I got through this much of my life and not known that this has existed? The moment there's so many times that's happened to us, and you're just blown away by that. And you would never experience that if you didn't travel.
And I think you also become a lot less judgmental.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think those are very, very wise words at the end of this episode. And I think the bottom line is, do it for yourself if you want to do it, and enjoy everything. And don't do it just because other people are doing it.
And do it your way.
Yes, and do it your way. Well, Lyle and Leanne, thank you so much for being on Most Memorable Journeys on this episode today. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. I've had a lovely chat. Lovely catching up with you.
Yeah, thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. If you enjoy my podcast, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. You will find all the information in the show notes.